Majoring in microbiology. I'm one of the CURBS ambassadors, and this is Mariah.
Hi everyone, my name is Mariah. I'm majoring in neuroscience and I currently do research in psych and also in pediatrics, and we'll talk a lot about that later on in the presentation, but super excited to sort of introduce you guys to the world of research. It can feel really intimidating when you first enter it, but believe me, it's definitely not. It's a really great way to sort of get involved here on campus. So
yeah. And so this presentation essentially is going to be helping you guys how to find a research project. I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious, like, how do you get involved with research on campus? But even though this is a presentation, feel free to ask any questions, stop us at any time. Like, we want this to be as interactive as possible, so just don't hesitate to ask us questions. But if everyone's filled out the attendance form, then we'll just get started.
all right, so I just wanted to go ahead and introduce what research is for those of you who don't know. So it's basically having inquiry or investigating. This can be done across a variety of fields. Lots of fields intersect, and there's a lot of different methodologies that take place. In some labs you might do wet lab research, and other labs you might be doing literature reviews or directly interviewing participants. So it can look really different depending on the field that you're in or depending on the lab that you're in. It's very vast, it's very diverse, but many people falsely believe that research is reserved only for professors or graduate students, and that is definitely not the case. Undergrads have a really valuable role in a lab, and here at UF, there are so many undergraduates involved in research in a variety of different ways. And so when you are an undergrad participating in research, it can look like a lot of different things. But usually you will work in a lab for around 8 hours a week. You'll collaborate with graduate students. You'll interact with your PI, which is called a principal investigator for those of you who aren't familiar. So that is like the professor leading the research lab. And so you'll have a lot of interactions with a variety of people within the hierarchy of a lab. And so eventually, once you get a little bit more integrated into your research, you can probably and hopefully do your own research project. And so again, the work that you do in these labs can vary across a variety of disciplines. So whether you're in psych, whether you're doing wet lab in a biology research lab, it can look really different.
Yeah, so now you guys know what research is, but why is research important for an undergraduate student? The biggest one is it establishes career goals for you. Whether you're interested in applying to medical school, if you want to go to graduate school, even if you're just trying to figure out what you want to do as a career, research is a vital tool to help anyone figure out and further bolster their academic and career performance. Another important part about research is it creates transferable skills. What you learn in one lab can apply to anything else that you do, like your wet lab skills might help you in your microbiology class. And the biggest thing is it enables you to be a lifelong learner. So anytime you're being a researcher, you're asking questions, you're thinking critically, these are skills that apply just not only in research, not only in schoolwork, but as you go on throughout life, you'll learn to keep this critical thinking in mind with you. And lastly, it allows you to be more knowledgeable about the progress of your field. I know so many people that come in as a biology major, but they do research in psychology, and they become a psychology major, and then if they don't like psychology, maybe they can find another career path, maybe they can find another research lab that's more interesting. So you really get to learn the intricacies of a specific field, and I think that's why research really takes your learning to another level. And now for this part, we'll just talk about how both of us found research.
So I'll go first. Again, my name is Mariah, and I've been involved in research since I was a freshman here at UF. My freshman year was actually during COVID, so it was really hard to find research, but I found my way through the Emerging Scholars Program. So for those of you who don't know, the Emerging Scholars Program is a scholarship that UF has here, and they basically encourage undergraduates who don't have a lot of research experience to find a research mentor and conduct research projects on their own. And so this was a really great way for me to sort of find that research mentor to work closely with and to sort of learn from, and also conduct my own research project at the same time. We'll talk a little bit more about the Emerging Scholars Program a little later on, but I do want to preface that I was a first-generation college student, so I didn't know anything about research when I came here. here, I didn't really know how big of a culture research had on campus, and I was really intimidated by the process. But please don't be intimidated. It is a really welcoming space here on campus. Professors are really open to getting to know you as a person and to encourage your goals within research as well. And once I was sort of established in that lab, I moved on to the pediatric behavioral health lab. And so this was more hands-on, more of the clinical sides of research that I was a little bit more interested in. Besides that, I was able to go to an REU program, which is research experiences for undergraduates. And so basically this is a paid research internship that you go to, typically at another university. UF has one here as well. But I went to Yale University and I conducted some research at psychology labs over there. And so that was a really great opportunity for me, not only to find my own research interests amongst another research culture at another university, but I was also funded for my work as well. So that is something that is definitely possible for all of you. REUs are a great way to do that. And then additionally, once I came back, now that I'm in my senior year, I joined the University Scholars Program, which again, very similar to ESP, doing research under the guidance of your own mentor and sort of navigating research projects on your own. And so use the university's resources as much as you can because they will help propel your research career as an undergraduate. So that was my experience. Please do not be intimidated by research. It is really vast. There's so many experiences to find the research interests that you have and to sort of build upon them, not only here at UF, but also abroad as well.
Yeah, so my journey to finding research is a little bit different than Mariah's. I actually did a summer program here during my junior year of high school called SSTP, and so I already worked pretty closely with one of my PIs, and she was involved with leukemia research, and so I didn't really know whether I was going to do the same research or whether I wanted to find something new. But during my freshman year, I took this course called BMS 4905. It's like an introductory 1-credit course where it's a research seminar every week. And each class, they bring out 3 professors actively looking for undergraduate students to participate in research. And they'd share like their own journeys, like what kind of research that they do. And my PI was actually one of the guest speakers, and I reached back out to her saying like, hey, I'm interested in cancer research, I'm interested in immunotherapy, is there anybody that you know? And she actually gave me the contact for my current PI. And so I work in an mRNA engineering lab, and so what we do is we design like how the Pfizer or like Moderna vaccines are mRNA-based vaccines to treat like the coronavirus. Like instead we use mRNA vaccines to treat glioblastomas, which are an aggressive form of brain cancer. And like my research journey, like I had no idea like what any of this stuff was, but I started catering my coursework. I started taking virology, immunotherapy, like immunology courses and all of these different things. And I learned so much throughout my lab that it helped me in these courses. And these courses also helped me in like my own research. And now I'm like doing my own project, and I just feel like research is a very fulfilling like process. But at the same time, it's different for everybody. Like even though I had like a contact in my freshman year, I didn't actually start doing research until my sophomore year of college. So like everybody's on their own timeline. If you see someone that's like doing research like right out of the gate, like don't feel behind. Like everyone's on their own path. Like you can start research like whenever in your time in college. So even if it takes you some time to find a project, even if it takes you some time to like find a professor, like there's still so many opportunities that are available for you guys.
All right, so you might have some questions about where can I even look for research and when should I start looking. We encourage you to start looking whenever you can, whenever it's possible for you to. So typically what I recommend is that if you want to start research in the spring, you start looking now and start building those relationships with professors right now. Where can you look? There's a lot of different resources for you to look. So first we recommend the Center for Undergraduate Research, their database that's on their website, which will we'll walk you through in just a second. But here we have a lot of professors who list that they're actively looking for undergraduate students to support in their lab. And so you can use the database to sort of search your interests. Say you're interested in neuroscience, you could just go look up neuroscience professors and you'll see all the different professors who are actively looking for research assistants right then and there. What I also recommend is that you network with professors, especially in classes that you find really interesting and classes that apply to your research interests directly. So say you're taking a class with a professor, maybe talk to him after class or go to their office hours. Really make yourself stand out and make yourself known as a student so that you are going to have that networking capability to sort of capitalize on when you're asking for research opportunities. You could also cold email, so you don't necessarily have to have a class with this professor. All of the professors that I've worked with in the labs that I'm a part of, I never took their classes, I just cold emailed them. So we'll talk you through that as well in the next few slides. But this sort of looks like just going on department websites, finding professors whose research interests you, and just emailing them. And we'll show you a template in just a second. Another way to get involved is REU programs. Again, we'll touch base on this in a few slides. But sometimes they do actively look for students who don't have research experiences so that they can have that abroad and beyond UF. So I definitely recommend that. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, the Emerging Scholars Program, URSP, these are great ways to get involved on campus, and you are funded for those ways as well. So we really, really recommend that.
Yeah, so for this next part, we're just actually going to take you guys through what the research database looks like and how you guys can navigate it and like what to look for specifically. So if you go to the cur.aa@ufl.edu, there should be a section called the research search page, and it'll take you to the database.
And then for all these links, they'll be included in the notes document that you get to, so don't worry about having to write them down or anything.
Yeah, so this is what like the landing page of the database looks like. And if you go to this filter here, you can search by like project title, like how many hours in the week that you can commit to it, which college, like which department you want to do it in, like if someone's interested in dentistry or like engineering, like education, you have all of the departments here, and it'll like filter for that. Also, if location of research matters to you, if you would be on campus or off campus, or if you're open to remote opportunities, you can even search for that there. So, does anyone want to raise their hand and kind of go through this with me? No one?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll do on the floor.
All right. Business, College of Business.
College of Business.
That's usually a hard one.
Yeah, that's one of the harder ones. Let's see, Warrington is down here. Do you know like your time commitment that you want to give?
11 and 15. We do that.
Okay. And then we'll leave the other ones blank and see if anything comes up.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So business is actually like one of the harder departments to get involved with research in. It's just like the nature of like the business school. But we are going to have a business workshop later in the semester, so if you continue like looking for research there, you can always come to that.
And always like surf through the department websites. You can find like professor profiles, and if they do research, it's likely going to be on there. And Anne has a lot of information on business too.
I hosted the Research and Business workshop last semester. Basically, they have a website like Warrington Business Research, and they have a bunch of like news articles on like current research that's going on in the business school that you might not expect. And it was actually really cool. When I was trying to find a professor for that workshop, that's where I found him, and he was super receptive, super accomplished, and loved to talk about his business research. So that might be a good place to start for business.
Okay. Do we have any like bio majors or anything like that?
I can go.
Okay.
HHP.
Do you have a time commitment in mind?
11 to 15.
Okay. Hopefully this pulls something up.
Okay, maybe don't do the time commitment.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah,
let's
it's probably
leave.
like
Okay, let's do like liberal arts and sciences.
Okay.
I promise it's not this hard.
Yeah.
If you go on the websites and you like email like 10 professors that you have in mind, you'll
Okay.
definitely find someone that'll respond
like
for
here
sure.
we go.
Yes, yeah.
You can see like the project title, time commitment, whether it's paid or unpaid, and like an important thing to consider is whether you can be an author on the papers. Like that is one of the biggest achievements you can have in like your research journey. So all of that information is listed here, and you know, if we like click on using AI to trace the history of race and inequality, you can get more detail. Yeah, so it pulls up information on the principal investigator. Like this is the person you'll be working with. They'll be your primary contact, and it gives you like a more detailed project description and their contact information here.
All right, so now I'm going to touch base on how to network with your professors. So as I mentioned a few slides previously, you want to pay attention to your professors. Make sure that you make yourself stand out as a student. So that can look like going to office hours, talking to them after class about their research, maybe setting up an appointment with them. If you don't have any professors that you're actively taking classes with that have research, or you want to branch out, you can always look through department websites. And so this is what I did. I emailed around 10 to 20 professors that I was interested in at the time, and I was just like, hey, my name is Mariah, I'm studying blah, 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 and I'm really interested in your research because of XYZ. We have an email template that we'll show you in just a second, but this was a great way for me to find research professors who were actively looking for research assistants in their lab, and that were encouraging for undergraduates to pursue research on their own. So that was like a really big component for me because I was interested in the Emerging Scholars Program, and so that's how I sort of connected the two, by browsing department websites and then also trying to find a research project on my own that way.
All right, so it might seem intimidating to reach out to these professors. Like a lot of the times, like you don't know exactly what to say. You're not sure if this is too much information to add, like what information are they actually looking for. So here's some of the specifics or things that you could include in your email. So obviously you want to introduce yourself and why you're interested in their research. The why you're interested in their research is one of the most important things. Professors really want to see like you know, an enthusiasm for their specific research, so you want to be specific and like ask questions about the research that they have. Also, you really want to say like, I read this paper like published in XYZ, or like I had a question about this specific thing you published then, and it really shows that you've taken the next step and you're really, really interested in their research. Another thing you want to do is maybe include a resume or any relevant transcripts. A lot of you guys may be freshmen, so you won't have a UFGPA, but you can include the one from high school, and if you have a cover letter or any like references, you could include that. Most of the times it's not really necessary, and just like an introductory email. And another thing is you want to be concise. So what a lot of students will do is they'll write like a paragraph, but professors are so busy, they get hundreds of emails like every single day, so they just want something that's quick and easy to read and that will get the message across. You know, if they see something that's like an essay that you're sending them, they're not as likely to read it. So just kind of highlight the important stuff, and this is just an introduction that you're giving them. Also, at the end, it's important to ask like, are there any research opportunities that are available? Like, is there the possibility of getting a project in your lab? And you just want to show that like you're open for working with the professor. And so here, we're kind of going to go through a template email. So the first thing I'd like to point out is where it says Dr. Chloe. This might seem small, but if you do, like say Mr. and Mrs., a lot of times like principal investigators will feel a little bit offended. You know, they've worked a long time to get their PhD, so they feel some sort of way when you don't address them as doctor. But the next important thing, like saying your name, like even if you're a transfer student, that's fine. And then including some relevant coursework like principles of biology, chemistry, and then like the next part is talking about like the specific research and how they went into like the project. And they say like, I also read an abstract about one of your publications, and they list the abstract title. And then they go even further to a specific question, like the transcription factor is very interesting. This shows like, the student has really taken the time to kind of like understand or even attempt to understand like what the professor's research is about. And then in the closing, asking if there's any other projects they're working on, and they'd love to look into those. At the end, they're including the GPA, major, and also like transcripts and such. This is a bit old and a bit outdated. You don't really have to do this, but you can if you want to, if there's something like amazing on your like resume that you think will really stand out to the professor. And then always at the bottom, don't forget to sign, and maybe include some contact information like a phone number.
All right, so now we're going to go into, once you've already emailed them and maybe you've established a meeting with a professor, what do you need to do and what do you need to prepare before you actually meet with them? So you definitely want to come prepared with a lot of background knowledge about their research, your own personal research interests, and just a lot of enthusiasm and curiosity. You don't have to come in knowing everything about the research field and knowing all the different like niche and intricacies that are involved. You just have to come curious and willing to learn. And that's like going to show. If you come really prepared, that will show through, and they'll really appreciate that when you come and meet with them. I also suggest preparing 5 thoughtful questions that are really specific to the field. A lot of the times I like to ask about like the future progress or outlooks of the field. In the next like 5 to 10 years, what do you anticipate the research field is going to look like? So that's like a really good question that I always typically ask when I'm meeting with a professor. And be prepared to answer questions, again, about your own research interests. Why are you even reaching out and interested in their research in the first place? What experiences have you had that sort of enabled you to even be interested in this in the first place? And so you also want to come prepared with why you want to work in their lab specifically. A lot of the times these can feel really intimidating, can feel like an interview, but they are really encouraging, especially if they took the time to meet with you during their busy schedule. They're likely going to be really receptive to helping you out. And so some other things you might want to ask is like lab culture. How do you collaborate with different people in the lab? A lot of the times there are graduate students, you do work with a PI, but there are a lot of other roles as well, besides for research assistants, which is likely what you guys would be doing in the lab as an undergraduate. There are, for instance, I work with like a clinical research coordinator. They aren't actually a graduate student or an undergrad student at the time. They just come and work for the lab. So there's a lot of different people that are involved, and so you want to ask about the culture that exists there and how all of you collaborate. Things like lab meetings. Do you guys typically do like literature reviews, or do you talk to each other about like the current research that's happening at the time? Things like that. And so towards the end of the meeting, you sort of want to inquire about the possibility of working with them, what commitments and expectations are there for undergraduates in the lab space. A lot of the time there are hourly commitments. Sometimes you can even research for credit, which is even more important to stay committed to those hourly commitments as well. And so just as a general tip, you always want to act professionally, dress appropriately, and again, refer to them as doctor. They did take a very long time to get their PhDs, and you want to honor their hard work. So just keep in mind that these are all of the things that you want to think about when you're meeting with professors. Come really prepared, come really curious, and come ready to learn. And I promise they will be really receptive of that.
Yeah, and I really want to emphasize like that point about asking about the commitments and expectation for the lab. Like you really want to know like what your like weekly, like hourly commitment will be. Like sometimes I had a friend who was only able to give like 10 hours a week, but his PI expected 15, and like he had to make the decision like, okay, I really can't give you 15 hours, and he was forced to leave the lab because of that. So you really want to consider like how much time you actually can give. Like I know you guys are really enthusiastic about getting involved with research, like you're gonna jump at any opportunity that's given to you, but be realistic in like how much time you can give, like what your class schedule is like, because oftentimes like you need like blocks of hours for research. Like you can't give like 1 hour in the beginning of the day, 1 hour at the end. Like you might have to give like 2-3 hours on one day and 2-3 hours on another day. So it's really important to like clarify these expectations and set some like semesterly goals with your like professor. Like I want to accomplish this project by the end, like this is all I can do this semester. So just be realistic, but the professors will be like willing to work with you and stuff like that. And so this is a little bit tangential, but I want to go over like the anatomy of a research paper. I really stress the importance of like, reading these research papers, getting to know the professor's research, and like if you're looking for a research paper like for the very first time, it's pretty intimidating. There's lots of like words that you're not going to understand. There's lots of like scientific procedures that you're going to understand. So the best place to look is like just reading the abstract. From the abstract alone, it's written in a manner that like most people can understand it, and you'll get an idea of like what the paper is talking about, what the goals were. Maybe they'll include some of the conclusions. But beyond that, if the paper really interests you, you want to look at the introduction and background. This will give you an idea of like why the professor like did their research, what prompted them, like what the field in the past looked like, and what they want to study further. Like the methods and results, like this part can get very convoluted unless you have like a very good understanding of like what that specific field is. So I wouldn't bog yourself down with trying to like understand the nitty-gritty of the methods, or like even trying to interpret the results. Like most of the interpretation will be done for you in the discussion and the conclusion. So that's where you want to look rather than the methods and results. So just keep in mind that like no one expects you guys to have like the same level of understanding that the PI who's written the paper like has. As long as you've made an effort in understanding like what the research is about and you come with some questions, that's more than enough to really impress the PIs that you'll be emailing.
All right, so now I want to touch base on some programs here at UF and outside of UF as well. So there are a lot of UF-based programs, things like the Summer Undergraduate Intensive Research Program, Emerging Scholars Program, University Scholars Program, and there's a ton. I've listed the link where all the scholarships are. There's a ton of them. A lot of them do have funding associated with them, so you will get paid as an undergraduate researcher to conduct this work. And so that is like the really cool part about all of these scholarships. Another thing that I used as an undergraduate to sort of get more of an understanding of my research interests was I participated in a REU program. So this is Research Experiences for Undergraduates. This typically happens during the summer at an institution that is not like your home institution. And so a lot of the times these programs will look for underrepresented individuals within that research field, or they'll look for people who don't have a lot of research experience in general. And so when you're looking for programs to do, maybe this is a great way for you to even get started if you've had a little bit of trouble finding someone at UF. So I really highly recommend these programs. They're a great way to network outside of UF and really get integrated into your research field. We will be having an REU workshop. It's going to be November 2nd. And so we're going to have a panel of all of the different kinds of people who have been accepted to REUs within different research fields. And so this is a Q&A session. You can come with questions about how to apply, because the application process can be a little bit confusing and difficult to navigate if you aren't familiar with it. So we just want to make it accessible for everyone to sort of understand. But yeah.
And then, like, before we close out, here's some tips to remember. The first one being, like, start early. Like, you guys, if you're looking for a research position, like, next semester, you might as well start emailing them now. It's never too early to start looking. Another one is identifying your interests. This research is going to be something that you work on, like, not just your freshman year, not just your sophomore year, but probably throughout your college experience. This isn't to say that you'll be locked into the one lab. You can always switch if the lab you find isn't interesting or isn't meeting your expectations. But you really want to find out what you guys are passionate about, and this will really help you on in finding your research that you want to stick with. Another thing is check the departmental websites. Like, this is one of the best places to know like what research is happening right now, and this is in every single department. Like, whether you want to do research in microbiology, in in the College of Medicine, if you want to do like psych research, any any department will have which professors are doing what kind of research. Another one is join student organizations. This is your best way to like meet other students. A lot of you guys are freshmen, and meeting people is one of the best way to get access to opportunities, like joining like a pre-med organization or like pre-PA. Things like these will give you like access to so many more opportunities that you would not normally have access to. Then this one, plugging CURBS. Attend our workshops, attend peer advising. These are some of the best resources on campus to get you guys involved with research. The mission of CURBS, like as I was saying before, was research is for everyone. Everything that we do, like from the workshops that we put on, from the symposiums, like the philosophy behind them is research is for everyone. So just keep that in mind. Please, please, please come to any of the other workshops that we have. These are great professional tools. And another one is be persistent and open. You guys aren't going to get like the first research position that you see. There's going to be a lot of rejections. You might email 10 people and no one's going to respond to you. But this is normal. Like, as long as you're open, as long as you're persistent, as long as you keep trying, like, you will eventually find a research position. And the last one is show enthusiasm. Like, you guys are all here at this workshop, meaning, like, you guys obviously want to be part of research. So that's a great start, and you want to keep this enthusiasm, and you want to keep looking for opportunities that are here on campus.
All right, so if you want to have more access to more resources that will help you become more attuned to the research culture here on campus, I would follow CURBS on Facebook and Instagram because we post a lot of the resources and the events that we have, like other workshops, expos. The Center for Undergraduate Research website is a really good resource because it has all of the application materials for all the scholarships we talked about. It has all of the events, previous workshops, things like that, everything that's been recorded in the past, all the resources that we have to give to make research more accessible on campus is there on that website. So if you could go ahead and scan those QR codes, follow us on all of these platforms, that will get you really geared to get ready to sort of be more attuned with research on campus. Yes?
It's not a question, it's more of a comment, the two QR codes for Facebook and Instagram are backwards.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll fix that. And we'll send it in the notes as well. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, but while we have these up, and do you want to talk about like our application cycle?
Can you put the flyer up by chance?
Yeah. You emailed it to me?
Yeah.
Canvas plug,
There's a campus book.
Canvas plug. Join the Canvas, y'all, please.
Just taking a minute.
Oh.
I can start talking about it.
Yes, start talking.
So if you guys are here, you guys are obviously passionate about research. If you're passionate about sharing that love of research at a university-wide level, consider applying for CURBS. Our application closed on Monday at 11:59, so you still do have some time to get working on it. It's not that long of an application. It's basically a really cool leadership opportunity. You get to do things like this. Mariah and Varun are both of our executive directors of workshops. And then also we have things like we host the expo, the symposium, and we have different committees that go, for like example, education outreach that goes into neighboring schools to teach about science. There's really a lot of things that we do to spread that love of research, not only at the university but even beyond UF. So if you're interested in this particular leadership application, you've got about 4 days, and if you have any questions about applying for CURBS, please come see me, or really anyone can kind of help you out there. Thank you.
All right.